Hello there trainers, I'm Birdman, and for this video I am featuring Shadow Drapion in the Great League Remix. This Pokemon is a monster on Switch. It offers a lot of courage with Aqua Tail and Crunch, and plus it has Poison Sting on top of that. Plus so it's so spammy and it throws moves so quickly, so it's great as a Switch. And for the team I'm using mandibuzz on the lead and ferrothorn at the back. I think this team is great for climbing. And I was able to record some interesting battles. So in the first battle we find a ferrothorn at the lead and it's a good lead for my mandibuzz. So my opponent decides to switch in Gligar and I throw the first Dark Pulse since I need to chunk a little bit of health. So at this point I imagine Aqua Tail should be enough. So I get to Aqua Tail first. So let's see whether my opponent does shield it or not. And my opponent does indeed shield it since it would be enough to take out the Gligar. And my opponent is going to throw a move. It could be Dig, and at this point Dig would be enough to take out the Gligar since it's so frail. And it wasn't a Dig, and yeah, it's a good bait from my opponent. So I indeed get to Aqua Tail first. So I get to Aqua Tail first, and let's see whether it's enough to take out the Gligar. Since it's a non-shadow, it could live with 1 or 2 HP. Oh, okay, and it was indeed close. Okay, my opponent is going to throw another move. At this point, I couldn't risk it for a Dig, so I shielded it and it was an aerialist. So good bait from my opponent. But I was able to get one Poison Sting in. So my opponent brings back a Ferrothorn. It's actually still a good matchup for me. Crunch would do a lot on it since it's a Shadow. And Crunch would do a ton on it. Yeah, it does half of it. Okay, and we also get a debuff. And my opponent decides so, and I was able to catch a move. Let's see whether it's a Thunder or a Mirror Shot. And it was, and it's a Mirror Shot. Okay, unfortunately we do get a debuff. And my opponent brings back Mantine. So it's kind of a boring matchup at this point. My Dark Pulse wouldn't do anything on the Mantine. So I throw in the first Dark Pulse. This almost does next to nothing. Okay, I farm down a little more. So that I can throw next Dark Pulse, and my opponent is still charging up a lot of energy, and we lag here. Okay, we are still lagging. For some reason it's still lagging. Okay, we don't know what to do. Okay, we finally get back. Okay, we are trying to charge up Dark Pulse and it does nothing for some reason. Okay, yeah, okay, my opponent gets to a move. Let's see what move does he throw here. If it's an aerialist, he can again charge up a lot of energy, and it's an Ice Beam. It's enough to take out the mandibuzz. So I imagine I bring back Ferrothorn at this point. Yeah, I do indeed bring back Ferrothorn, and my opponent is still charging up a lot of energy. At this point, Power Beat should do a ton of damage, so it should be enough. And my opponent throws the first air. Okay, it's an Ice Beam. Okay, nice. So I think he'll shield this Power Whip, since it's enough to take out the Mantine. So I charge up Power Whip over here, and my opponent doesn't get shielded. So okay, I charge up a little more, and I get to Power Whip first. Nice. Okay, I throw in this Power Whip. I think it should be enough to take out the Mantine. Yes, this is enough. So my opponent brings back Ferrothorn. He doesn't have anything against my Ferrothorn, so my opponent gives up this match. Okay, GG's to my opponent. Good game. So let's move on to the next battle. And we get to Dragonite lead, and we had a ton of lag again. Okay, I didn't know what happened. So opponent is going to throw in the first move, and I'm not going to shield it. It was a superpower. Okay, my opponent switches out, and he brings in, I couldn't see what did he bring in. He brought in Empoleon, so good gasp from my opponent. But it's still okay since I can bring in Ferrothorn, and I can charge up a lot of energy at this point. Unfortunately, I was having some lag. So let's see whether we can get back at this match. Some opponent throws in the Drill Peck. No need to shield it. Yeah. So I charge up a lot of energy, and I throw in the first Power Whip. So this shouldn't be enough to take out the Empoleon, but it should bring it to a farming range. Yeah, it brings into a farming range, so I can farm up a ton of energy over here. Yeah, opponent throws in the Drill Peck. So hopefully I can hopefully I can farm him down completely. Okay, I was able to farm him down. Okay, let's see what he brings back. Okay, he brings back a Dragonite. Thunder at this point should be enough to take out the Dragonite. So let's see whether my opponent shields it or not. And my opponent does indeed shield it. But I should get to another Thunder first. Yes, okay, yes, yeah, good. Okay, we are able to get to Thunder first. This should be enough to take out the Dragonite if they do not shield this. Okay, they do not shield this, and I bring in Drapion so that I can get ahead of energy. And I have to shield whatever comes from a Shadow Dragonite. Okay, I was able to farm some energy, and it's a Jellicent. Okay, nice. Okay, even though we had a lag at the lead, we were able to get come back into this match. So yeah, that tells about this team. It's a really good team actually. Okay, so heading to the next battle. And at the lead we have a Mantine. Okay, this is a good matchup for my mandibuzz, but it depends whether they have Ice Beam or not. So I'm going to stay in this matchup till I know whether they have Ice Beam on it. And I throw in this first Dark Pulse. So I think one Dark Pulse and two Aerial Aces, or two Dark Pulse and one Aerial Ace should be enough for Mantine. And let's see what move does he have here. And it's an Aerial Ace, so I can stay in this matchup, and yeah, it's a good matchup for my mandibuzz. Yeah, and I get to the second Dark Pulse, and let's see whether my opponent throws in an Ice Beam. Shouldn't be an Ice Beam since they didn't charge up a lot of energy, and yeah, it's again an Aerial Ace. So, and I throw in the second Dark Pulse. So at this point, after this, one more Aerial Ace should be enough. Yeah. Okay, I was able to throw the Dark Pulse. Yeah, Aerial Ace should be enough at this point. Let's see whether my opponent shields it or not. If my opponent shields it, it's good. It would be good for me. Yeah, opponent decides to go down with Mantine, and they bring in ferrothorn. So this is still a good matchup for me, and I get to Dark Pulse first, and this will do a decent chunk on the ferrothorn. So ferrothorn cannot take out the mandibuzz unless they have Thunder on it. Okay, let's see whether my opponent has Thunder. Most probably they are going to throw Thunder here. Yes, and it was a Thunder. Okay, now I think I can bring in Drapion and do a ton of damage with Crunch, and also get a lot of energy. So Thunder will do a lot of damage on Shadow Drapion. So I have to shield this one. Yeah, I shield this one, and I decide to farm a lot of energy. Okay, we're still farming down a lot. So yeah, at this point I think Crunch should be enough. Even if it's not enough, I can still charge up a ton of energy. And they decide to shield it, so this tells me they have something weak. Okay, they don't have something weak, but yeah, they have yeah, GG's to my opponent. I have Ferrothorn at the back, and they have a Quagsire. So let's see whether they have Mud Bomb. If they don't have Mud Bomb, yeah, this is okay. They have Stone Edge. Okay, yeah, this is even worse. They should have thrown Aqua Tail. Okay, this Power Whip should be enough if they don't shield it. Let's see whether they shield it or not. Okay, they do shield it. So at this point, yeah, I have Ferrothorn, and I have also Drapion, Shadow Drapion in the back. So this should be GG's. So let's head on to the next battle. So heading on to the next battle. So we have a Feraligatr lead. Okay, this is a good lead for me if they don't have Ice Beam. But most of the Feraligatrs I see right now are running Crunch on them. So I decided to throw Aerial Ace since it's the Shadow Feraligatr. And I decided to throw in the first Hydro Cannon. Okay, it's an Hydro Cannon. Okay, so two Hydro Cannons wouldn't be enough to take out the mandibuzz. So this is the first Aerial Ace. Let's see whether my opponent shields it or not. Opponent doesn't shield it. Okay, and at this point I think I have to throw a Dark Pulse. So Aerial Ace wouldn't be enough. Opponent throws in the second move, and I don't shield it. I need it for the Drapion, Shadow Drapion. Okay, I decide to throw in the second Aerial Ace the Dark Pulse right now. So Dark Pulse, if they don't shield it, it would be enough to take out the Feraligatr, and they don't decide not to shield it. Let's see what my opponent brings in. Oh, okay, it's an Annihilate. It's actually, yeah, this is actually bad for me since Drapion doesn't have a good matchup against Annihilate. And I decided to throw in the first move. It could be Ice Punch or Night Slash. Night Slash shouldn't do anything. And it's a Night Slash, okay. Yeah, okay, it's a Night Slash. And I decided to throw in the first Aqua Tail to bait my opponent. And let's see whether my opponent shields it or not. Okay, my opponent doesn't shield it. Okay, so I'm going to throw in the second Aqua Tail so to check whether my opponent shields it. And I throw in Night Slash. I think I don't shield this since, yeah, it doesn't do a lot. But at this point, he could counter me down if he doesn't shield this one. If he shields this down. Okay, and he doesn't shield this, so I switch in Ferrothorn to charge up some energy. I think it was my mistake for not going to crunch. So my opponent gets to move, and I have to shield this one. It could be a Shadow Ball. It will do a lot of damage. Yeah, and it's a Shadow Ball. And let's see what my opponent has in the back. And it's an Empoleon. Okay, let's see whether my opponent shields this one. And oh, okay, yeah, I could have gone for Thunder. My opponent guesses it right and somehow guesses it right. It must be a mind reader or something. Okay, and I have to get to 2 Power Whips in order to take out the... And he has 2 shields right now. So yeah, this is really bad for me. Yeah, opponent somehow guessed it right, and it was my mistake for not going for crunch at that time. So yeah, it's a Drill Peck. Okay, GG's to my opponent, but I think it was a misplay from me for not going to crunch there. I thought he would shield it. So I guess, yeah, GG's to my opponent. So I lost this battle, so let's move on to the next battle. So at this point we are 3-1, and we again had a lag or some reason. So where they have a Crocodile lead. So yeah, a nice spice from my opponent. So, but it's a okay matchup for me if they don't have Disarming Voice. If they have Disarming Voice, then I have to shield them. Okay, we get to Dark Pulse. So let's see what my opponent has here. I'm going to bait him with Aerial Ace. So let's see what my opponent throws here. Disarming Voice wouldn't be enough to take me out. Okay, it's actually a Disarming Voice. So my opponent gets to another move. It should be Disarming Voice again. So I have to shield it since I have a lot of energy. I can't go let it go to waste. Okay, my opponent gets to another Disarming Voice. And I try to bait my opponent with an Aerial Ace. Okay, let's see whether my opponent shields it or not. My opponent doesn't indeed shield it, but I get to another Dark Pulse. Oh, but I again try to bait them again. Okay, but I think Aerial Ace also should be enough at this point. Let's see whether my opponent falls for the bait. So they do fall for the bait. And I tried to get to another Aerial Ace, and oh, it was close. Unfortunately, right now my opponent has a ton of energy. So I can't risk to soak up a lot of damage over here. So I have to shield this one. Okay, it's not looking good for me. So opponent has a switch advantage, and they get in. Okay, it's a Feraligatr. I charge up a little energy and I catch the Hydro Cannon. Yeah, this is a good catch from me. So I think I have to get to Power Whip and also charge up a little more energy for the Crocodile. And I get to the Power Whip and they get to crunch, I imagine. So I charge up a little more energy. Okay, it's a crunch and it does a ton of damage. So I have to be careful here, but I get to 2 Power Whips. Nice, I get to 2 Power Whips, so even if the Crocodile comes back, I can take it out with the Power Whip. Okay, let's check whether my opponent brings in Crocodile. My opponent's waiting the timer, and it's not a Crocodile. Okay, it's not a Crocodile. But I couldn't see what Pokemon does he have. I think it must be a Frostless. Okay, it's a Frostless. Nice. It's a Frostless. And I have a Drapion with a ton of energy. Yeah, they should be GG's. Okay. Okay, they try to catch, but there's no point at this. Yeah. I already have 2 crunches on me, and this should be enough to take out the Crocodile. And I also have crunch for the Frostless. Yeah. GG's to my opponent, and it's a good game. So if you find this video helpful, please do like and subscribe. And yeah, so we went 4-1 in this particular set, and yeah, I had a lot of fun with Drapion. So yeah, thanks for watching.